Chris Phillips here, Santa Cruz Mushrooms. I'm just getting ready to do a little lab work here. I've got some bags of grain spawn. I'm going to inoculate, get these ready for some future sawdust inoculations. But as I'm getting ready to do this, I was just thinking back to when I was just getting started growing mushrooms. I didn't have any lab equipment at all. I had no way of creating a sterile space to work in. And I was just kind of checking out some different people on the internet that were growing mushrooms, just getting some ideas on how to do it. And there were a couple of really cool YouTube channels that I came across that had some pretty good ideas about how to get started. And I thought I might share a little bit of that with you today. One really cool channel to check out if you're just getting started growing mushrooms and really don't know much about it is called Spore and Sprout. I will leave a link in the description here so you can check them out. That guy has got some really cool, innovative ideas about how to grow mushrooms kind of on a small scale at home. And I took some of his ideas and ran with them. And as I'm getting ready to do some grain spawn, I was just thinking back to what I learned there about how to use prepackaged cooked rice as a grain for making spawn. And I think it was called like 90-second mycology was kind of the tagline for it. But anyway, so I want to show you some things I learned about that. And again, you should check out the channel and check out his actual videos on how to do this. But I'll show you kind of a little bit about what I learned there and some interesting experiments that I have done and some questions that I came up with as I was doing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some liquid culture here that I've got in a syringe already. And I think I'll use some of this chestnut mushroom. This is the stuff that's called Ben's rice. Used to be known as Uncle Ben's rice. It used to have a picture of a guy. I guess it was Uncle Ben. But I think he retired. So now it's just called Ben's Original. And anyway, the cool thing about this is rice that's cooked, that has a good moisture content, and it's in a sterile package. So it's perfect for inoculating and growing out some mycelium. So let me show you kind of how this works. Now, you don't have to have a laminar flow hood. You don't need to have a sterile space at all. You're just going to create a really clean area and then sterilize the needle by, heating it with a flame, and then inject it right into this bag of Ben's rice. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So first what I'm going to do is prepare this package. And the way that works is, you see, if you take this package and you look, it's got these little flaps at the bottom. And what you want to do is open that up. You do that by just cutting it with some scissors. So now carefully, you can push the scissors through like that. And just cut that corner off. Do that on both sides. And now that whole flap will just open up. Now what I'll usually do is just it's kind of a square block of rice in here. I'm just going to break that in half. And then kind of fold it over and force it down. And what I want to do is kind of just create one blob of rice down there at the bottom of this bag. Now, The important things to know are you want to make sure every grain of rice gets pushed down into there. And you can just kind of grab the bag. It's pretty tough. You can just kind of grab the bag. You can actually twist it like that and force it all down into the bottom like that. And then you've got a little bag of grain that you can inoculate and grow out your culture. And then once this is completely colonized, you can use that to inoculate other grain or even some sawdust, depending on how big of an operation you have. Now, I was able to actually grow out several blocks of substrate using just this method. And what I started doing was, this is about a ½ pound of rice. So really, I mean, you could probably inoculate a couple of 5-pound blocks of sawdust with this, no problem, once it's fully colonized. What I think I was doing was just taking this, using it to inoculate a 5-pound block of sawdust, letting that grow out and colonize, and then using that block to inoculate, you know, another 4 to 6 blocks of sawdust. And it worked pretty well. This is just rubbing alcohol. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it nice and clean. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sterilize this needle and then inject this. Then I'm just going to cover it with some duct tape. And this is the interesting thing that I discovered about using this bag of Ben's rice for a grain spawn. One of the trickiest parts that I saw demonstrated using this was putting in a filter patch in order to allow gas exchange. That's the tricky part of it. And what I thought was, I wonder how important it is to have. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and inject this right into here. Put in a couple cc's. Doesn't really need that much. And I'm just going to cover the hole with some duct tape. So now theoretically, this is supposed to have a filter patch of some sort. So you could punch some holes in it and then cover those holes with you know, some paper tape so that it can breathe, basically, right? So that it can release gas, take in oxygen, release CO2. But that's pretty tricky to do. That you really need to work in a still air box or something. It's pretty much impossible, as far as I can tell, to put holes in this and then cover it with a filter patch. So what I wondered was, how much oxygen does this grain spawn really need in order for the mycelium to grow and colonize? And another question I had is there oxygen in here at all? I mean, if this has been vacuum sealed, is there any oxygen in there at all? I know that mycelium needs oxygen in order to live. I mean, they don't breathe the way we do, but they do consume oxygen. We know that's true. They do need oxygen, and they do expel carbon dioxide. But what I realized is there definitely is enough oxygen in this package right now for the mycelium to colonize. this completely. And I know that from experimentation. So with no filter patch, with no gas exchange at all, this will colonize completely. And the mycelium will do just fine in here. So anyway, I'm going to allow this to colonize for a week or two, and I will come back and show you when I'm done. All of this will become white with the mycelium, and then we'll break it open and take a look. So I'm going to go ahead and write today's date and the type of mushroom that's in here. And then I'm just going to put this in my incubation area. But we'll take a look at it after a couple of weeks and see what it looks like. We'll be able to see if it's colonizing, and we should also be able to see if there's any contamination in there through this little window on the bottom. So again, go ahead and check out that link. It's called Spore and Sprout. Actually, the first liquid culture syringes that I ever purchased, I purchased from them. And they turned out to be really good strains. The liquid culture that I got from Spore and Sprout, I think I paid $10 for a syringe, like a 10cc syringe, and it turned out to be great culture. Now that I do have the ability to do some sterile work, and I have a flow hood and stuff like that, I use grain spawn. And people use different things. Some people use oats. Some people use a combination of things. I've used mixed wild bird seed. It worked pretty well. And I was just looking for a solution for something that was easily obtainable, readily available, and inexpensive, easy to work with. And I saw a video online, and I will share a link to that video, and maybe I'll even put down the name under this. I don't know the guy's name off the top of my head, but he was kind of this cool guy to watch. He seemed like kind of like a mad scientist, and he had a video about how to make grain spawn using millet with no soaking, no simmering, really simple, kind of a one-step process. And I watched it and I thought, wow, that looks like my kind of process. I tried it and it worked well. It worked so well that it's what I use now.